Reading from the Gospel of John. Mary stood weeping outside the tomb, and as she wept, she bent over to look into the tomb, and she saw two angels in white, sitting where the body of Jesus had been lying, one at the head and the other at the feet. They said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping?" She said to them, "They have taken away my Lord, and I do not know where they laid him." When she had said this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing there, but she did not know that it was Jesus. Jesus said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping? Whom are you looking for?" Supposing him to be the gardener, she said, "Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have laid him, and I will take him away." Jesus said to her, "Mary." She turned and said to him in Hebrew, "Rabboni," which means my teacher. Jesus said to her, "Do not hold on to me, because I have not yet ascended to the Father. But go to my brothers and say to them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God." Mary Magdalene went and announced to the disciples, "I have seen the Lord." And she told them that he had said these things to her. Mary was a very faithful follower of Jesus. She walked with him. She heard his teachings. She heard him say that this was what was to happen, that he would die and in 3 days rise again. She believed in him. And this belief and this faithfulness took her to the foot of his cross, where she saw him die. She was a part of taking him off of the cross and following the rituals of burying him in the tomb. And despite all of this belief and this faithfulness, when she is standing at the opening of the tomb, looking in and seeing two angels, and even when she hears the voice of Jesus and turns around and thinks he's the gardener, it doesn't make sense. Despite all the faith and the belief in the world, this doesn't make sense to her. She is so rocked by grief and heartache. She's flooded by tears. She's looking at the facts. She's looking at the face of the promise that Jesus said was to be, and it doesn't make sense. She's not seeing it. Her assumption is that somebody moved Jesus rather than resurrection. And it isn't until Jesus says her name, Mary, that she turns and truly sees him. And her response is Rabboni, which the scripture says is teacher, but the actual translation is my teacher. She's there in that moment, able to see not only Jesus the Christ, the risen Messiah, but her friend. It's almost as if there are stages of resurrection, just like there's stages of grief. Here we see Mary lost in her grief, standing at the tomb. Then we see Mary seeing Jesus, receiving his interaction with her, talking with her. And then we see Mary running off to the disciples to preach, to share the good news of the resurrection. This might be true for us as well right now. We are in the Easter season, but it may not feel like Easter just yet. We may be lost in our heartache, in our isolation, in our grief. Maybe right now we're spending more of our time in tears than we would like. Or maybe, just maybe, during our day, sometime we hear our names being whispered. We see Jesus showing up in our lives in extremely unexpected places. And maybe, just maybe, we have good news to share. Maybe we have someone in our life who needs to hear about the love and the joy of the resurrection. And it's okay, no matter what stage we might be in, or maybe even we cycle between them. But during this time of isolation and confusion, please don't put it past Jesus to show up and say your name. Please listen amongst the tears. And once you hear it, don't be afraid to share the good news. Amen.